All right, another Pint of Comics episode coming at you, streaming live here on a Wednesday night, June 23rd. We talked about it on Twitter earlier today. 32 years ago today, Batman 1989 came out. Big day for nerds out there. And speaking of nerds, I'm surrounded by nerds over there on the side of the screen. SWO Hunter. I've got Stu from SWO Productions, and he's been on the show 1.5 million times. Stu, what's new? What's going on in your life?
Too much stuff going on. But I saw Batman 89. I mentioned it on Twitter. I remember seeing it at the drive-in. That drive-in is a Walmart now and has been for some time. But I saw it at the drive-in and it was paired with Die Harder.
Oh, Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Die Hard 2 is a pretty good movie. When you really think about it, they just essentially just copied Die Hard 1 and just put it in an airport. That was it.
In an airport, yeah.
that was it. That's all they did.
I'm relatively sure I slept through most of it. I was like 8 or 9 years old. I was there for Batman. Batman happened. I remember waking up and they set an airplane on fire or blew up an airplane, and that's all I know about Die Hard 2.
I think the biggest ending. Yeah, that is the ending. I think
that's what I mean. Yeah, I slept through.
The two biggest memorable, I think, things that you hit with Die Hard 2 is the scene where he ejects himself from the jet and goes flying up towards the camera, and then the weird scene where William Sadler's bad guy is doing naked calisthenics. If you remember that, when they first introduce him, he's standing in a room just buck ass naked, and it's just what's going on here?
All right, it's the psycho murderers that do the naked calisthenics, not the with the freaky people, but not usually the terrorist killers.
No. And below down there, we got Dr. Joe, Professor Joe. Joe, show us your shirt. Let's see here what it says. Trust me, I'm a doctor of chemistry. Joe's our resident scientist. If you heard the recent K9 episode, yes, that's right. Joe picked K9 for his. You only get so many Pint Movie invitationals. Joe picks the
and you wasted on K9.
Well, next time it's Citizen Kane, so we have a real discussion, right?
or you could go ahead and do Citizen K9, which is
we should write Citizen K9.
we probably could, and we probably could get Jim Belushi to do it at least, and whatever generation of dog they're on now, because they're probably 5 dogs deep in those. Chris and Eric both say hi. I want to say hello to them. I had the extreme pleasure last week, Saturday night. Larry had the return of Connecticut Cult Classics David Cronenberg night, which had been postponed due to COVID 3 times. Finally happened. We got to watch Scanners and The Fly. And it was a really awesome night to just see a lot of new friends and old friends. I got to meet Chris, who has been hanging out with us on streams Friday the 13th and pretty much everything we do. Shake his hand, just talk to him for a while. It was really nice. And Eric, who I had met last month at one of the drive-in events, we had a conversation. Eric was in, I guess, attendance when I ate that extremely hot lollipop last week, and we were talking about that. So yeah, it was good. Turn that spigot knob. Pretend like this is Resident Evil. Oh, okay. Yeah, Stu's got some plumbing over his shoulder there.
Oh, I didn't even know what that was. Yeah,
he's in his basement.
I know you had some plumbing issues, so is it fixed?
Yeah, that seems to be resolved. That seems to be. We'll see, but we only paid for some of it. They were we could do this little bit for 3,000, or we could do the whole thing for 10,000. We're like, do the little bit, see if that fixes it.
Wow. All right. So here's the thing with what we're doing now. Okay. I came up with an idea for a new subset of shows on Pint of Comics. We have the Triple T. We have the Pint Movie Invitational. We have the 100 Proof, where we talk about comic books. I wanted to do something that utilized StreamYard. All right. Because we like to go live, and it's a good way for me to keep my friends on now that we're getting back to live recording that don't live in Connecticut, which, if you're not sure, that's where I'm from. So Stu is out there in Upper Mifflington, Pennsylvania, real ritzy part of Pennsylvania. And Joe is just right. Joe, you're right outside of Baltimore?
Yeah, a little bit south, about half an hour.
Okay, so Pennsylvania, Maryland. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing. So I came up with an idea. We also have the Scary Larry's Pint of Horrors. I wanted to come up with something that kind of tickled my fancy, and I'm a big fan of kind of B grade and lower science fiction, fantasy, and action films of the 1980s. Okay. I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 1975, so this is my thing. Yeah, I like to pretend that Molly Ringwald and Spacehunter is the kid from Enemy of Mine all grown up. Enemy of Mine might make it. That's, you know what, Eric? I'm going to do that one. That's a great one.
That's not B enough. I don't know.
I think it's I think it's right there. I think it's right there. There's going to be a couple that are going to push over, into maybe a little bit better land, but yeah,
a little bit better.
I just came up with a list of movies that I wanted to talk about, and again, the science fiction, fantasy, and action, eschewing all horror because we do that anyway. And I had a couple thoughts in mind for the first show, and I thought to myself, let's do. Enemy of Mine was a wide release movie, Larry, but so was the movie we're doing tonight. The movie we're doing tonight is from 1983, and it is called Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. If you want to, let's see here if I can bring this up. I'll show it real quick. Overlays. Let me get this here. There you go. There's the poster. All right. Wolf and Nikki. He's an interstellar adventurer. She's a young rebel. Together, they set out on a mission to rescue 3 stranded women from a planet no one has warned them about. Well, she's on the planet, so that means
they didn't even care when they wrote that.
I know.
Because no one has ever returned. No one has ever returned from that planet, apparently. So yeah, this came out. Is this show in 3D? No, this is in very, very flat 2D.
Was the movie in 3D?
Yes,
I don't think so. Was it?
Yeah, yes, it was. Now you guys, you couldn't tell that there was some stuff going on here where there were, especially the beginning credits. We'll get into all that.
Only the credits. I was kind of wondering because that was the year of all 3D, right?
Well, this was one of the first. This is one of the very first that started it. So let's go through some of the information about this Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. Now, if you want to watch this movie, if you're curious enough to watch it, it's on Crackle, which is a free streaming app. Joe hooked me up with that, and you can check it out right now. Okay, so go there. You can watch Spacehunter and think about stuff we said and go, they were absolutely right about that. First things first, I came up with a drinking game while watching this, and I want to know if either of you guys think you could survive this. Stu, could you survive a drinking game where if every time in Spacehunter they say the word zone, you had to drink?
I mean, I don't drink, so probably not. It would probably take very little to kill me.
All right, Joe, do you think at your most battle-hardened, probably college drinking weight, do you think you could have handled a shot per zone in this thing?
No, but who says I'm not at my current battle-hardened drinking weight?
Well, okay, all right, fine. So do you think current Joe could handle that?
Shots would probably be tough. If I had a shot of beer, I could do it.
Yeah, they say zone a shitload in this movie.
Yeah.
There's Stu's cat. We knew that was happening because Stu has 17
just jumped
cats.
up here.
All right. So this thing was directed by a guy named Lamont Johnson. He was mostly a TV film guy. He did get this man a toe of Satan. He did a TV film called Off the Minnesota Strip, and then Crisis at Central High. I know nothing about
that. Sounds exciting.
They both sound like crap. Now let's think about this real quick. How many people? I don't know if you guys looked at it. How many people do you think it took from story to screenplay to get credit and write this movie? Joe, give me a number.
I would say 1 if I didn't look at it.
All right, Stu, what would you say?
1/6.
1/6. All right. All right. So
is comatose.
Yes, and Chris does say if you drank every time they said skag, you would be dead. Yeah, you would not only be dead, but there is actually a scene in this movie where extremely cringeworthy, where Molly Ringwald calls. We'll get into the cast in a minute. Molly Ringwald calls Ernie Hudson's character a black skag, and I went, "Oh no, oh no,
oh no."
Oh no, future movie, you're showing us that we're not going to get better.
On other planets too, it spreads.
Yeah, I know it's spreading. It's spreading. No, this 6 people. Okay, so 2 people wrote
this movie.
2 people wrote the story.
Are you sure you don't mean 6 people made this movie?
No, 6 people to come up with the 2 people to come up with the story, 4 screenwriters. So the 2 people that wrote this were Stuart Harding and a guy named Jean Lafleur. They wrote the story. Jean Lafleur
What
was the
story? What story did they write?
Jean Lafleur was the original director, filmed for a few weeks, and was fired by the head honchos over there because they thought it wasn't coming together well enough. They replaced him with the guy I mentioned before, Lamont Johnson. Here are the people that wrote the screenplay. David Preston. Preston's biggest... now, none of these people had really great pedigrees except for one. David Preston's biggest credit was he wrote Scanners 3, The Takeover. I didn't fucking know there was.
I didn't know there was a Scanners 3.
I didn't know it was a Scanners 2.
Yeah, I also did not know that.
I think I knew there was a Scanners 2. I think I knew that. Edith Ray, who mostly wrote, it looks like TV shows that involve animals. She wrote for Max the Cat and the 1999 reiteration of Lassie, which I didn't know they did. And then these two guys were a little bit bigger. Dan Goldberg and Len Bloom. These two guys were like a partner pairing.
The guy from Bloomhouse?
It is not. It is not.
Is it the people who wrote Get Out?
Yeah, this is from the minds that brought you Get Out. These guys wrote bits of Heavy Metal, the animated movie from '81,
Yeah.
Stripes and Meatballs. So they got a big Bill Murray connection. And Bloom, not Goldberg, either wrote or co-wrote Howard Stern's Private Parts screenplay. So
Pig Vomit.
Pig Vomit, absolutely. This thing was filmed between November 10th of 82 and January 29th of 83. It was released on May 20th of 83, 5 days before what? Joe, do you know what this was released 5 days before?
Yes, and so that's why I'm not embarrassed to say I've never heard of this movie, because it was 5 days before Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
They sped this movie into production because the idea was... We've all seen it, right? Stu maybe you won't remember from it being a little bit earlier, but like 3D has come back about 3 times in 30-year increments. Like in the 50s, it was a big thing, disappeared. Early 80s, all of a sudden 3D became a big thing again. Jaws 3D, Friday the 13th Part 3 3D, Spacehunter, Metal Storm.
Spacehunter.
We had all these films that started coming out in 3D. Goes away again in like 83, 84, and then comes back like in the 2000s and
2010s.
2010s.
Yeah.
And really lasted for a good long time. But again, at this point, right, they're not doing anything in 3D anymore, are they? That's pretty much over, right?
It doesn't seem like it, yeah. It seems like that went away, yeah.
I think James Cameron might come back with Avatar 2 and have some kind of new 3D where you could actually like stick your finger in characters' ears and shit. I don't know. Maybe he'll do that. But so yeah. This thing was filmed in Utah, Moab, Utah, Dead Horse State Park. That sounds like a good time for the kids. It's a
forbidden zone because the horse is dead, right?
Yeah.
Dead animals.
Casa Grande, Arizona, and of course, because it seems like everything films there at some point or another, Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah.
They didn't fight Jason at all. Jason wasn't in this movie.
Eric might be absolutely right. VR is probably the next thing. VR probably is the next step that we'll take. So yeah, Spacehunter, my personal history with this is, as I watched this the other night, I am pretty confident that even though I've seen a million movies from this time period, I don't know if I've ever really seen this one. I do remember very, very fondly having my buddy my buddy who lived next door, his dad used to collect and read Starlog magazines, and I remember that Overdog was on the cover of a Starlog. All right, we'll talk about who Overdog is, but I still remember.
I was going through the credits on this movie, and it comes up Michael Ironside as Overdog, and I was like, oh, clearly that's a typo. Turns out it's not.
Yeah, no, Michael, and
no, not the name Michael Ironside, just Overdog. I was like, well, clearly that's a typo. Clearly they meant to type literally anything else.
No, he certainly is the Overdog. I'm going to bring up some notes here. Hold on one second. Pardon me, I should have done this before. Okay. So yeah, right off the bat, Stu, do you have any kind of affinity for this type of movie? Like this type of like low budget, like just...
No, I texted you and I was like, are you sure this movie wasn't on Mystery Science Theater? Because I feel like I've seen this exact movie on like 12 different episodes of Mystery Science Theater. And I'm here to tell you, this movie's a lot less rewarding without Mike and the robots making fun of it.
Okay, that's fair, Joe. And Joe, I know that you're a movie guy, and I know that you said that it was the Return of the Jedi factor. But even after watching it, you have no memory of ever hearing of this thing.
No, and I looked at you're on IMDb and it has things just like movies just like this, and I knew all those movies, seen them all: Time Bandits, Metal Storm, Krull, all these ones that are semi same time period. I've seen them all, but I'd never heard of this one before.
Interesting. All right, so let's get this first episode of what I'm calling S.F.A. 80s kicked off. We'll go with the cast list. Right off the bat, you have Peter Strauss playing Han Solo. Oh wait,
I was going to say playing non-solo.
No, yeah, non-solo. No, he's playing a character named Wolf. 2 F's at the end. He was in
hardcore that way.
He was in Rich Man, Poor Man, which is a TV, I think a TV movie from the 70s that was pretty famous.
Yeah.
I think Nick Nolte was in that as well.
I heard of that one.
Yeah. And I recently, during COVID, I rewatched because I like this movie, but I hadn't seen it in years. Nick of Time with Johnny Depp. It's that real-time thriller. He plays the governor's husband who's like nefariously plotting against her.
When did that come out?
95, so like 12 years after this.
Oh, okay.
Much longer after this. Let's see. Molly Ringwald, obviously, if you know Molly Ringwald, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club. This is her first feature film. Prior to this, Joe, do you know what TV show she started on?
No, I'm spacing. Facts of Life.
Absolutely. She was one of the first batch of girls in the Facts of Life, and then they got rid of all those girls.
I don't know if you're trying to throw me with the words feature film, but on her credits list, this is the second movie.
Oh, is it the second film?
Yeah, there was something from 1982. I don't recall what it was called.
Oh, okay. Well, I take that back. Pardon me. Ernie Hudson as Washington.
Washington Zeddemore.
Yeah, essentially. Well, there's a lot of Ghostbusters stuff going on in this movie. First of all, this was produced by Ivan Reitman.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This is a year prior to Ghostbusters. So I didn't read anything up on it that I could find, but I'm assuming this might be where he kind of got to know Ernie Hudson through.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we got that. The composer, Elmer Bernstein, who did the music in this movie, which the music isn't bad in this movie, but what I thought was funny about this was that he obviously went for it in terms of having this like heroic theme, but there's not a lot of heroic stuff going on in this movie. So like there are scenes where he literally is just getting in his Jeep to drive like 25 feet. And all of a sudden
you get like A-Team music.
Yeah. It's like all of a sudden it would be like if Indiana Jones went into like a bathroom to take a shit and all of a sudden it's like, like no. Okay, Elmer Bernstein, sit back. We don't need the fanfare right off the bat for this. Bernstein also composed, obviously, Ghostbusters, The Black Cauldron, Three Amigos, and then much later in his career, Wiki Wiki Wild Wild West. The Wild Wild West was one of his last movies.
James West.
Desperado, Rough Rider. Now, I did not recognize her until after I was reading, doing like some of the credits here. Andrea, Markovicki as Chalmers. Chalmers is the trusting robot companion of Non Solo. And I got to be honest, the first thought in my head when she came out of her little cryopod is he's fucking her. He's got.
Oh yeah, no, her. Like she says, I need to get my uninterrupted time, and you keep interrupting me.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, they're banging, and then you find out she's a robot, and it's like, sex robot.
She comes out of the thing, and she's got that
robot.
She's got that nightshirt on, and she's not looking bad. And I'm like, it gets lonely in space, and it certainly gets lonely in space. Now, what I didn't recognize her from, Stu, you did the episode with us over on Scary Larry's Pine of Horrors. She is the female lead in The Stuff. She is.
Is she?
Yeah, she's the same actress, but she only lasts in this movie. She's like the marketing woman that ends up inexplicably with the hero. Yes,
I didn't recognize her at all.
No, and she's only in this movie for like 12 fucking minutes. So
yeah.
So isn't she really like an android though? She had that milky blood, just like Alien. Was that me?
Well, here's the question, Joe.
I thought she just kind of melted. I didn't remember seeing her blood.
You're a smart guy, Joe, and I don't know enough about this stuff. What would be the difference between being an android and a robot?
I don't know.
Okay.
the milky blood. The milky blood.
The milky blood. That's how you know.
Like just like Alien.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So like she's
Yeah.
okay. So like a robot would be like if she was straight up C-3PO, and an android is like okay, we covered her in some lady part.
It's a human, like a human.
Well, okay.
Mix.
Then what's the difference between her and a Terminator, which is a cyborg?
A Terminator
Oh.
isn't a Terminator covered in real flesh, like not synthetic? I could be wrong about that.
Sure, let's go with that since none of us seem to be able to confirm nor deny.
No,
If
the
any-
first generation Terminators were rubber skin. They were easily spotted.
Right, but they had to adjust, and that's why the T-800 in the remember he pulls the eyeball out. That eyeball, there's a lot of blood and guts in there. So I don't know if anybody out there knows more about Terminator than us.
Please explain the difference to us between robot, android, and cyborg. We don't understand.
Michael Ironside from Scanners, which I just saw the other day. By the way, real quick, Scanners comment. Not that great of a movie. If you haven't seen it in a while, and only one head blows up in the whole fucking thing. Like this is a movie that kind of rolls on that head blow up thing.
Yeah.
Only one. And the one that you see in that little bit in the beginning, that's the only one. There's some other scenes. There's some like I gave you a seizure. There's some like I gave you a bad tummy ache. But there's only one exploding head in the whole thing. At the end, when the two main scanners fight, some crazy shit happens, but no heads blow up, or at least that I remember. I think one of them completely immolates, like gets set on fire. That's actually pretty cool.
What a
so, Michael Ironside was also Jester in Top Gun, and he was Richter in Total Recall. See you at the potty, Richter. Gets his arms ripped off by the elevator. He was also, for me as a kid. You know what? I'm gonna put this up because Eric says it here. Turbo Kid is Ironside's best film since Total Recall. If you've never seen Turbo Kid, I'm gonna go with Eric. He's saying scratch that Starship Troopers, but I'm gonna go back to Turbo Kid. Turbo Kid is like a 5 or 6 year old Canadian movie that is essentially similar in terms of like to some of this with a post-apocalyptic kind of future. It look it up on YouTube, watch the trailer. It's lower budget. It's really fucking good. Turbo Kid. Check it out. Thank you for mentioning that, Eric. Michael Ironsides, for me as a kid, I don't know about you, Joe. I was a big fan of V and the V television series.
Yeah, I love that.
He played Ham Tyler. He was kind of like, in all honesty, he was kind of like my introduction. He was almost like Han Solo, like the anti-hero. Like he was seemed like a bad guy, but he was on the good guy side. You know what I mean? And Michael Ironside is just a great character actor. As a matter of fact, we did an episode like a year ago, top 10 character actors. And there was 4 of us, and none of us said him, and I'm fucking ashamed right now.
Oh, that's a shame.
I am totally ashamed right now. He also
now you have to redo it.
I always thought it was very strange. In X-Men First Class, he shows up at the end as like as the captain of the battleship, but it's like it's a really small role, and it seems almost like he took a job for hire, like rather than like it's not like he's Michael Ironsides. It just seems like he's the guy they hired to be. Watch it next time you see it.
I'm just amazed that you're amazed by that. It's not like Michael Ironside was like the lead in John Wick or something. He's Michael Ironside. He can just be a background guy.
He needs money.
Yeah,
I know he needs money. But usually,
when you setting the world on fire.
Usually, when you see him in something, it's in something a little bit more front forward. I guess is what I'm saying, even if it's a small role. Eric says Michael Ironside played a vampire in one of those Masters of Horror episodes. I watched a few of those. Some of those were good. Some of those were not good. That was Showtime about 15 years ago, and it was I think 2 seasons, and every episode was directed by a different horror icon. So John Carpenter did one, and some like upcoming people did them. Don Coscarelli did one. The one Don Coscarelli did was actually pretty good. It was Incident on and Off a Mountain Road. And it's pretty good. Some of them are pretty creepy.
Was the budget on Masters of Horror more or less than this movie?
Probably more. We'll get to the budget in a second.
I would hope.
Watch Pelts with Meatloaf and Jennifer with Dude from Wings. I will check those out. Budget of this film. You ready, Stu?
$38.
Nope.
Adjusted for inflation, that's
$14.4 million.
What? No.
$14.4 million.
There's no way on earth.
And are you ready for this? Opening weekend. We'll do box office at the very end, but I will give this out. Opening weekend, it made $7 million, and box office domestic in 1983, It made 16.4, which made this money. This thing made money, Stu. So yeah, this thing absolutely made money.
What did they do with the $14 million? Did they just have the best catering of any movie ever?
I think a lot of it was
could have been salary.
It could have been salary. It could have also been like getting.
Could have been.
No,
unless they just
salary.
knew what Molly Ringwald was going to be and just paid her in advance.
I think a lot of it might have been getting that right sepia tone lens for a lot of the planet stuff.
Well,
so
Ivan Reitman took it all to make Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
personal.
He's I need $14 million for Spacehunter.
Hey, you know what? He very well might have. Another quick Ghostbusters connection besides Ernie Hudson and Ivan Reitman and Elmer Bernstein. Did either of you guys? And I did recognize this. Then I read it afterwards. In the very beginning, when Non Solo gets the call to go find the women, did you recognize the voice on the comm, Joe?
Yeah, it was Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, yeah,
uncredited.
Really? Yeah,
and I wouldn't, I probably would have recognized it, but I wouldn't have known if I hadn't seen Ivan Reitman's name, because that actually, tipped me off to think about it, and I was like, oh, it's Harold Ramis. And I also want to point out that scene's pretty funny because it's very real world problems, because Harold Ramis tells him his wife didn't get the latest alimony check.
Yes,
He needs the bounty from this bounty hunting.
Well,
needs those mega credits.
Yes,
the mega credits. I love that. I wish I was a smarter guy, and I wish I was a writer, because one of the first things I would lay out if I was making a universe like this is the horribly stupid names for like money and other things. Like, do I use shits? Do I go with mega credits? Do I go with
stupend bucks?
Bitcoin work. So
stupend bucks. What do I use here? So essentially, this movie opens up with it looks like a luxury cruiser of some sort, and Stu's right on this part, man. The outer space and ship effects of this movie are I don't think all the effects in this movie are bad. I think there's some that are pretty good. The outer space and ship effects in this movie are as low rent as you can get.
Yeah,
the ships look like someone went down to a Motto's model shop in Middletown, Connecticut, got themselves a cheap fucking model, painted it like gold, and then just put like a pin drop black background up against the light, that space, and is just like using their hand to fly it through space. It looks really bad. Yeah, spray painted it. Probably huffed a little bit more than they should have. They end up. The ship ends up. Does it get attacked? What happens on the ship? I can't remember. That forces the three women that we're going to. That's going to.
I think they go through like a cloud, and it's like, oh, we've entered some kind of galaxy cloud, and it's evaporating our ship.
Right.
Like it's just a real quick thing, but it was some kind of like they entered a gas or a cloud or something, and everyone had to bail.
We essentially had to get the C-3PO R2-D2 jettisoning from the ship scene, which, again, if you want to get right down to it, this movie, someone saw Star Wars, someone saw Mad Max, and someone said you should fucking make those two like fuck and have a baby, but do it on a much lower level with a much smaller budget, because this is what we're going for here. Now, Joe, we get the three women. They land on this planet now. Right, they land on this planet, and immediately they get, I guess, taken. Right, they get taken by
these weird swaying. Like,
so I get really confused because they got taken by these mutiny people, but then when they're on the ship train, those people seem kind of normal. So
it's just manned by dudes.
But so I was really confused at who did they get her away from these mutants, because the people on the
movie don't care. Yeah. Movie don't have time for that. Movie ran out of budget for its weird swaying Jawas.
It was very weird. It seemed like we have all these different factions on this planet. We know that there's a zone on the planet, and you can't go into the zone, right? If you go into the zone, Overdog and his minions, the chemist. We talk about the chemist a lot. We actually meet the chemist before we know he's the chemist. But
we're very sly like that.
Yeah, and if you go into the zone, you're going to get captured by Overdog. He rules over the zone. This is the forbidden zone, by the way.
You're going to get sick from a pandemic, which no Non Solo seems to not care about ever. They keep talking about it. No one gets infected.
My beer is getting warm. Someone say skag. Yeah, skag. So yeah, I don't know. I was confused as well because it seems like they're getting kidnapped initially, but then those guys are actually sympathetic. They also have a train that uses wind sails.
I know, right?
Like a pirate ship.
I was wondering that. At first, I didn't realize it was a train. I thought it was just like some vehicle going across the sand and the wind blows them across the sand. But yeah, then they're on a train track. So what is the sail accomplishing?
When they first showed it, I thought it was supposed to be like a sand crawler, like the Jawas had. I'm like,
okay,
holy shit, they're going as far as to rip this off by having a sand crawler in this fucking thing. No sand crawler. It's just a train with wind sails. That not only that, but they're on a track that they don't know fucking ends. Like, don't you know like the lay of your land? Like you don't go anywhere. Yeah. You just keep going. They're like, stop.
It's like they just found tracks and they just put a train. They built a train just for the tracks that they found. And they're like, let's see. And somebody else was like, you think we should walk ahead and see? No, we're going to ride it. We're going to ride it out.
Tracks never end, right?
I have a good feeling about this. Only good things can happen.
Hey, in Thunderdome, which came out after this, though, this part was inspired by Mad Max. That's when the train was in there. I was wondering if George Miller stole that from.
You think George Miller
stole from Spacehunter because after it was all train at the end, and then it stops at the end of a cliff.
It does make sense. It's like the people who made Spacehunter stole from him, and then he's like, I'm looking to make another one of these movies. I'm going to steal from Spacehunter.
The whole town. There was Thunderdome in that one town. Well, we'll get to that later, right?
Yeah.
Well, shit, like you said, Spacehunter was profitable. So
yeah, Spacehunter, Stu, in 1983. I'm thinking you would have gone and seen it. I think you're oh, here we go. Chris is I'm assuming Chris watched this too. I thought the Overdog's troops built a barrier on the tracks. Chris, you're probably quite right. They did,
but there was no tracks behind the barrier. So it still didn't go anywhere.
We don't know. It was a pile of rocks, wasn't it?
But I think you see behind it and there's nothing there.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't paying hard enough attention. Yeah. Because Wolf goes down to the planet to collect. He's going to collect the three women because, like Joe said, he has alimony. I think they also mentioned that his apartment
he's behind on his rent.
His rent was no good. Did you guys notice that there's that whole jokey scene before he wakes up Chalmers? Which, by the way, Chalmers is the worst fucking robot name ever. Like, I wish her name was like X5 or something. Chalmers. Chalmers
just butler.
Yeah, it sounds like a butler or like your next door neighbor. It's like, oh, Chalmers.
Super Nintendo Chalmers.
So he goes and he decides he's going to collect these three women, and that's how he's going to pay off this bounty. He goes and he takes Chalmers and they go down to the planet. But before he goes down, he makes a joke because nothing in his ship works because it's the Millennium Falcon. He kicks a circuit board. Did you guys hear R2-D2?
Yes,
okay.
100%. I was like, this movie straight ripped off R2-D2's noise.
Oh yeah. As soon as he kicks it, you hear like the R2 beats. It wasn't like put through a vocoder or changed.
No, it was not changed at all.
R2-D2. Yes. And then as I was doing my research on this after watching it, in the trivia section, it said that there's an R2 beep in it. I'm like, no shit, there is. You don't need ears to have heard that. So they go down to the planet. Now, I got a question for you. They go down to the planet, and he's got this Jeep. He calls it the Scrambler. I didn't have time to look this up because I wanted to. We all know that, like, people love, like, vehicles from movies, right? People love vehicles from TV shows. There's people out there that own, recreations of the General Lee, of Knight Rider, kit, all that stuff. Do you think there's anybody out there that likes this movie enough that has like a? I'm gonna look it up later. I'm curious. Do you think anybody has like a homemade built Scrambler? Because it's just a Jeep. It's just a Jeep with a bunch of shit on it. Joe, do you think someone out there loves this enough to have that?
I don't think so. I could see somebody owning something from Mad Max, building one of these built-up ones. I don't think I see this movie because who would have remembered it?
Yeah,
you really have to love it.
$16 million in 1983 money, though. There's definitely a sci-fi convention that has had this. 100%. Someone, it's been at one.
I agree. I totally agree. I meant to look it up before we started talking, and I forgot to. But someone out there has the Scrambler, and somebody out there also probably has like the Wolf Han Solo outfit, which is essentially what he's wearing. So he goes down to the planet.
If we want to tie this into Ghostbusters again, I will let you know that when I met my wife, we lived in an apartment complex, and for about a year while we lived there was an Ecto-1 parked in our parking lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll send you pictures. We still have pictures on Facebook of this. We just came home from work one day and it's just in our parking lot. It just stayed there for like a year.
You probably had a cosplayer in your building that
we might have, or somebody who did like, kids parties or something.
Yeah, which funnily enough ties back into Ghostbusters 2, is that's what the Ghostbusters were doing in Ghostbusters 2. So Wolf goes down with Chalmers, and he is going to rescue these women. He sees that they've been taken by these guys on the train, and now, and then there's hang gliders involved. That's where I got confused, because now Overdog's minions are coming to get the girls, because we learned something about Overdog as we meet him eventually, is that Overdog
is a horn dog.
He can't anymore because he's more, again, another Star Wars thing. He's more robot than man. But boy, oh boy, does Overdog just want to fuck something.
Like, is it an android or a cyborg? We don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe androids can have sex, or cyborgs or androgynous, whatever, asexual.
Look, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into like plot machinations in this film, but did either of you notice? And they never talk about it in the movie, but while he's on the ship, he's looking up the planet. And he sees the history of the planet and how there was the pandemic and everything. And he's talking to Chalmers, but on the back screen, the thing is still talking and you see visuals. And they say that there was a 3-man expedition that went to go check it out, to colonize it, and never returned. And on the screen, one of the faces of the mission is Michael Ironsides. So, like,
oh, really? No,
I never
would have caught that.
It's a whole huge plot thing that would have made it a little more interesting, is that Overdog and I think the chemist were the original expedition that went to colonize it, and then, got sick and started falling apart, whatever happened at that point. And, and they became what they became. But this is all being played out on a screen in the back. And the only reason I noticed it, and many people might not notice it, is because I know what Michael Ironsides looks like. So he's on the screen. I'm going, so are they saying that's him? Because I knew that he was going to be Overdog eventually in this film. But yeah, Overdog desperately wants to have sex with something. Every time he's on the screen, it gets a little grody. As a matter of fact, here, there's a scene. Where did I put it? I want to show you guys something here. I put this here. If Stu was brought by a couple guards in front of Overdog, this is what Overdog would say: "Undress Stu slowly." he really likes to see people being undressed Overdoggy style. Yeah. So now the next scene we get is a big battle between Wolf and the
Kite Men?
The Skags on their train, right? And then the Overdog mutants or whatever. Did any of you guys think of the barge scene in Jedi? I know that it came out after, but it just seems like, another like kind of too little too late entry. We get this kind of fight between all these, and I couldn't tell who was who.
Yeah, I was trying to say it looked like they were all shooting at each other.
Yeah, I didn't know what side anybody was on, and I was too busy being obsessed with the fact that when they kidnapped the women, it looked like they were snapping their necks.
Absolutely.
Wait, are they killing them and then flying them away?
When the Overdog's men get the women, all three of them, they Steven Seagal their necks. And I'm like, oh, they killed these bitches. This movie's over.
But the one guy used the hook like the Navy SEALs getting out of the water, like hooked her up as it went by.
Yeah. I mean, and actually, that was one. Again, there was a few moments that I thought were pretty impressive. The first scene where you see the hang gliders coming in with the smoke trails, I thought that was pretty cool. And I did kind of like the idea of the action where they're flying in and hooking the women and then taking off with them. But yeah, I think someone should tell them that when you do that to somebody, you're killing them.
You're not knocking them out.
You're not knocking anybody out. You're breaking their neck.
It's not a concussive move.
It's chiropractic.
I'm glad Stu brought that up. I'm glad Stu brought that up because I completely forgot about that. So he ends up defeating everybody on there. During the battle, the elder of the train people, he gets killed. The train people have great, like they're typical like Mad Max. The people that are on the planet talk, like they just have like this very, he's losing his lifeblood, stuff like that. They
Well, the elder was hurting. I couldn't believe he was still alive. He was like, his appearance was bad.
Well, not just that, but he got like a fucking cannon blast straight to the chest, fell off of the fucking train, and was still alive. And he was like 96 years old. Well,
I was just dabbing blood from his head. Like, it's fine.
He's like, no. I cut myself shaving this morning. I
thought he looked like, oh shit, what was his name? Gildor from He-Man.
yeah. And in the ensuing fight, we see that during the back and forth battle, Wolf leaves Chalmers in the scrambler, and she gets fucking blasted in a cross blast. Didn't expect Chalmers to die. He gets back.
It seemed like she had legs in this movie.
I thought she was gonna. I thought there would at least be a scene that where I'm figuring there's gonna be a scene. I'm assuming there was going to be a scene in this movie where he was going to like have sex with her or something. No, it did not happen.
It was rated PG, right? So.
Yeah, it was PG.
Yeah, but it's like a 1983 PG. So
they might have showed boobs.
You can get away with a little bit more at 83. And we also realized that we had to make room for Molly Ringwald at some point. I will say I did like when Chalmers dies, he activates her self-destruct, and I thought that effect was actually pretty good. Like, especially when her flesh was melting.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good. And then you kind of see the undercarriage and everything, and not that undercarriage, but the skeleton.
You got to see the grundle of Chalmers.
You got to see Chalmers grundle, absolutely. Joe's got a visitor.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you want to come say hello? No.
Say over, dog.
Say a quick hello.
Say hello.
Hello.
So. I know. I got the headphones.
I'm the only one that never has kids or anything. Like, there's a cat, there's kids. I feel like I've got to get someone. I'm gonna like hire someone just to walk in and go, "Hello."
Well, I mean, I'm a terrible parent because I'm actually having the TV raise my daughter right now because my wife decided to bolt.
Well,
like tonight, even though I told her ahead of time.
Joe, you and I made it. You and I made it with the TVs raising us partially. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's why I like movies like this.
Yeah, but when TV was raising you, TV just stopped at midnight.
Yeah, no,
it just went to static.
I've never seen that happen in my life, to be honest with you. Really? I know that was a thing. I don't remember.
I remember that.
Okay, see, I don't know. I guess I didn't stay up that late. You better be able to talk about Spacehunter. Hello.
You go back and watch the movie, okay, sweetie? Okay. Well, this might be a little bit.
All right. We'll keep the language to.
She can't hear anything. Don't worry.
To a small boil. So yeah, she dies, and now he moves on. Plot moves forward. He's trying to go find where these women are
for his mega credits. Do you remember how many mega credits?
Was it 100,000?
No, it's not even close. 3,000.
3,000 mega credits. So that's not even $26 in Earth money.
I don't know what a mega credit is.
Inflation, it's got to be like $1 million.
If one credit is $1, what's a mega credit? Like $1,000?
Maybe 1,000.
So $3,000. That's not bad.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
He's paying his rent.
All right. And I think this movie, I didn't write it down, but it takes place like in 2261. So, rent's probably much higher then, but whatever. So he goes, and then how does he find Molly Ringwald? Where does he find her?
He's doing something. He's out of the scrambler investigating something, and she tries to rip off the scrambler. Like he just looks down and it's driving away.
Now, we get Molly Ringwald in an early role, and obviously she's going to become very popular as kind of John Hughes' muse pretty soon. And she's good in 16 Candles and
Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink and all that stuff. I'm not saying she's bad here, but boy, if she's good at being annoying in this movie.
Oh my God, yes.
My Lord, I just wanted her to stop talking. I don't know about you guys. Stu, did you just want her to stop talking at any point?
Maybe it's because I knew who she was compared to non-Solo, but when she came on, I was just like, all right, something interesting is happening. And she was going for it. I mean, she was giving her all. And yeah, I think her character was supposed to be obnoxious and loud and abrasive. So I mean, she was going for it. I was here for it. I was enjoying her character. I mean, it's better than, you know, the emotionless rock that was walking us through the film until she got there.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter Strauss. I don't know him from much else. He might be very good, but he certainly is an emotionless rock in this movie. So she tells him that she's going to trade off. That sounds gross. She's gonna track him to the Forbidden Zone so he can find these women, and she's doing this for food, right? Because she's obviously
some nibbles.
For nibbles. She's obviously There's a really exciting scene where they eat a hot dog. And beans, and
she doesn't want to eat dogs, man.
She doesn't want to eat dogs. That's what stags eat.
It's a gray square hot dog. I don't know how that's possible, but it looks terrifying. So yeah, they end up going about, and they kind of start to, you know, you get the feeling that they're going to bond, and then they run into this giant truck with a giant, you know, like kind of a bulldozer accessory on the front of it. Turns out this is Ernie Hudson, and who would know that in a galaxy this big, these two guys used to work together? I don't know what the odds are of that. Now, here's another problem I have with this movie is like the scene where they explain who Overdog is, or they don't explain it. You kind of catch it on the back of the screen.
Okay, take these off.
Are these guys military? What are they? Like I thought they were just bounty hunters, but then
I assumed is Wolf the space hunter? I don't understand. I assume he's like a bounty hunter, whatever he is. He's Han Solo. I mean, he's a mercenary who takes any job for money, and he's cool and handsome, and he's Han Solo. That's fine. Yeah, Ernie Hudson, I don't know. Is he Space Ghostbuster? I'm not sure what he's doing here.
I thought he was military, but then it'd be weird because if nobody ever gets out, then why would he want to be deployed there?
Right.
Because you know he's not coming home.
And he lost his ship, and he kind of makes a comment about how he's not with the military, whatever it was, anymore. So,
he thinks that's the headphone.
So they meet up. They have this moment where they determine who's going to help who in finding the girls. And they end up. What do? They end up. They take Ernie. Joe, is she stronger than you, Joe?
Yes. You're not allowed to manhandle a child.
Well, they somehow get Ernie Hudson's gun, and then they throw it in the lake.
Yes,
and then just leave him.
And they leave him. They leave him essentially to die, you're assuming, because, you know, who knows what happens at night on this planet. And then they end up finding another structure that they apparently don't really check out too well, because they climb up this ladder and go to sleep like on a floor, right, somewhere. And in the middle of the night, they hear noises, and they go one door out, literally one door out, and they find all these giant fat people slugs that are hanging from the rafters.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Wouldn't you think that they would have searched their area before they went to sleep a little bit harder? Because literally, it'd be like if I went to my door is right there. It'd be like if I were going to hide out here at night, I would probably go to the door and look out there first to make sure it was safe. They just went right to sleep, right, Joe? They just go right to sleep.
Yeah, no perimeter check, nothing. Just
nothing.
lay on the fake blanket made out of sun absorbing material or whatever.
Yeah, the blanket reminds me of, if you've ever watched Better Call Saul. His brother has the electric blanket that looks like that.
It reminds me of the thing that you put a hot pocket in before you put it in the microwave.
Yes. We do get a scene. I know that they're not going for that in this movie. I know they're going for she's looking for a father figure, but they do get the scene where he wakes up with her in the sleeping bag with him, and I was like, eek. That was a little bit much, but what did you think, Stu, of the effect of the giant fat people suits? Because they're in this hive of obese monsters.
Obviously very little, because I don't remember the scene at all. Even you describing it, I thought you were going to say, oh, they left Ernie Hudson and then they met the siren women, because I remember that. I don't remember the fat people. I definitely watched this whole movie. That scene just apparently had no impact on me whatsoever.
Joe,
the fat people had bigger boobs than the sirens.
They did. Yeah, it was just a bunch of like 500-pound mutant babies. They looked like. And they they're hanging out of the ceiling in what looks like condoms, kind of. It was very weird. It was very weird. Molly Ringwald versus Asian women with freckles. I think that's a comment on the On the QT episode from this week because I expressed my love for Lucy Liu.
No.
I'm going to go with the Asian women with freckles. It's again, don't check my browser history because that's in there. So yeah, they get out of there. Being chased by these giant fat people, and where do they end up next to? Is this where they end up meeting up with Ernie Hudson again?
No, because they don't meet up with Ernie Hudson until after the sirens.
Okay,
because they leave the scrambler outside, or no, they start driving it because Molly Ringwald's like, here's where it's shallow, drive on through, and then the sirens, mermaids, whatever, get her, and he gets out, and they have to climb out of something to escape the mermaids. And then Ernie Hudson comes through, and he's like, I found your scrambler. Now,
Joe, were you excited for him at the very least when the Amazonian, when they're essentially in like Atlantis Themyscira, when the women were like, he's a good breeding sample?
I know. I've always wanted to hear that, and I never have.
Yeah, never heard that myself either. I was very excited for Peter Strauss Wolf non-solo.
I'm going to write my own movie where I'm that.
He looks like good breeding material. I was like, oh, good for him. Good for him. And as this movie continuously shows us, anywhere you go, you end up somewhere else. He climbs a ladder and opens the hatch, and now he's in the mountains.
Yeah, he's in like a desert. Yeah.
He's in the middle of the desert. Molly Ringwald's character is dehydrated.
Oh, that's it, because they walk through the desert for a while. She passes out from dehydration, and then Ernie Hudson comes and gives them water.
Ernie Hudson comes and obviously has to do, what anybody would do, and I told you what was going to happen, and he's doing that thing where he's drinking the water, and Wolf is like, just give her the water, man, and Ernie Hudson ends up saving their lives and basically telling them that he needs to be flown out as well, so they're going to become partners in this. I don't know what the split was supposed to be, but 50 or 50-50 or whatnot, but they decided
they end up going 50-50, but initially Ernie Hudson offers like 75-20 because he's like, you can have 750 super mega ultra credits.
Ultra, I think ultra credits.
No, I think it's like, mega. I just
no. I think mega credits is the paper bills, and ultra credits is the coins.
Ooh. Oh,
yeah, I think that's what it is.
Fancy.
How many ultra credits for?
I was going to say, you think ultra's better than mega?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Ultra's lower than Mega.
No,
really?
Ultra would be higher. Isn't Ultra like?
Yeah, Ultra is Ultra. Mega is just Mega.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think you're discounting Mega. Like Mega, like they weren't.
Mega just means big. Ultra means the best.
So in wrestling,
a big credit or the best credit?
I mean, there's a megalodon. There's not an ultradon because that's ridiculous, right? There's just the shark so big that it couldn't fit in the ocean.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, if you think about wrestling, right? Hulk Hogan and Savage were the mega powers, not the ultra powers. Although Eric's saying in Final Fantasy, an Ultima is better than a Mega Flare, but Ultima and Ultra. Well, I guess I see what you're saying. All right,
Nissan is terrible, so I don't know.
No, that's an Ultima. That's an Ultima. That's a whole nother thing.
At least you got what I was saying.
Yeah, and remember the 1982 Mega Force was Mega Force, not Ultra Force. So
that's because Ultra Force was the advanced. If they made a sequel with a better team, Ultra Force.
Okay, so you're saying like in comics language, Alpha Flight and then Beta Flight. That's where. Okay, all right, I see it. Mega is like 1,000. Ultra equals last. Okay. All right, Eric, we'll go with that. I believe you. I like you. I'll go with that. So they end up going at this point now, right, to the Forbidden Zone. And this is where, right before they get there, this is where we start to really meet Overdog and his minions. Essentially, how would you describe Overdog, Joe? Like his whole setup. Like, what is happening with him?
Well, so you don't see it at first, and then later on you realize he's on a base, right? He's got this metal base, and
he's on like claws. A swooping crane.
Yeah, like I thought he was a person until I saw that you don't really get reveal of all these parts moving, and And I was thinking, isn't there somebody in Battlestar Galactica that like that in the old one where someone's sitting on top of the pedal?
Yeah, I was
That's what
thinking
made me thinking of
when they first showed him, like he's in like that like hive type glass structure, and you don't really see him, and that's the scene where he has the guys.
too.
Yeah, that's the scene where he has the guys bring the girls over, and he says, "The middle one, undress her
Slowly.
and this is where we learn that like maybe his legs and nothing else works, but his balls still work because they're driving him fucking absolutely crazy. So not just the base
Thanks,
level, but what else? What else does he have going on? Like he doesn't have hands, right, Joe?
Yeah, he's got huge claws.
It's like the thing from Aliens.
Yeah, but even like non-functional for grabbing little women.
His claws reminded me of those drop claw machines.
Yeah.
Like the 3 pincer type claw. I was like, this guy would be great for getting me a fucking framed Hansen picture, or a stuffed animal like a Garfield out of a fucking Burger King. What do you call it? Jester's Courtyard Burger King.
Have you ever gotten one out of that machine?
Yes.
My brother-in-law does them on like expert mode. He does so many throughout the course of the year that at the end of the year, every year, he gets all the stuff he collected from claw games and donates them to the children's hospital or whatever.
Oh, good for your brother-in-law. That's awesome. I'm not bragging when I said I've done it. If I've used one of those machines 50 times in my life, I've won twice. I've gotten nothing 46 or 40 times, and then there's probably like 6 or 7 times where I got something and and then it fell.
Yeah.
Right? That really pisser moment where it's like coming back, just about to dump it in that little fucking hopper, and it drops it about a second too early.
The way they have those things designed to like smack up at the top and then go like this and drop your damn thing, they know what they're doing.
Oh, they're not stupid. They're not stupid.
Remember the one at the carnival where you can get the switchblade comb?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You ever
see one of like the huge ones where the claw's like the size of a man and you're getting like life-size teddy bears and shit out of it?
Where is that?
No.
Oh, a bunch of places.
No, well, a bunch of places in Pittsburgh, maybe.
Maybe.
All right. You got to remember, you're talking
real
about
cities.
Yeah.
like Pittsburgh.
Can't really argue with that. Connecticut doesn't have one.
Our hockey team didn't go to Carolina. I don't know what to tell you about.
Hey. Okay, that's true. All right, that's true. Yeah, the funny thing about the Whalers is that nobody gave a fuck when they were here, and now like all you ever see is people wearing Whalers gear. It's like, where were you?
They had great colors.
Oh, great logo and everything. And I used to go when I was in my 20s. Me and my friends would like on a fucking Thursday nights. Like, what do you want to do? We'll go out drinking. What do you want to do after that? Let's go to a Whalers game. You could literally go to a Whalers game. Just go up to the box office and buy fucking tickets. It wasn't like, like I'm sure in Pittsburgh it's probably difficult, because the Penguins, I don't know, I don't follow hockey, but the Penguins are usually pretty good, right? Plus,
yes. When I was in college for the years after they traded Yager away, but before they got Sid, and it was the same thing. They had something called the Student Rush program where you could show up an hour before a game with your student ID and get a ticket for $10.
Yeah.
But nowadays, obviously, like they've sold out every game before COVID for like 12 years, 13 years, something like that. Ever since they drafted Sid.
The Whalers did not have that problem. The Whalers did not have that problem. Joe, did you used to go to Whalers games at all or no?
I've been to one, but that was a long time ago. And also, you think about it, right? Everybody hates that they left. I mean, I think the Brooklyn Dodgers fans have finally died.
Yeah. 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 Most people that were probably diehard Whalers fans got over it because it's been, it was 1996 or 1997. So it's been a long time. All right. So Overdog is just all horned up and he wants to see them getting undressed slowly. And he has like a double dare obstacle course that he runs his prisoners through. He does, and I love the fact that not only he runs his prisoners through it, but he's also like the game referee. Like
it's Thunderdome plus Running Man.
It is. Matter of fact, that I felt bad for that first guy. So he essentially has like this American Gladiators type maze that he puts everybody through. And if you get through, you go free. Although we find out later, nobody goes free. That's his big joke. But like the one guy gets through and does a couple cool things, and then he ends up on this like kind of like inclined wall that like drops on him, and like he lands in like a fucking
pit
like
of spikes or something.
Pit of spikes. I'm like, oh shit, that looked like it hurt. And Eric, to answer your question, any yard goats marks in the house? I want to and have never been to a yard goats game. Yard goats are the probably 5-year-old now 4-year-old minor league team in Hartford that they built a stadium for that was much contested for a long time. We used to have years ago when I was in high school and right after that, I used to go to New Haven Ravens games, and I've been to a couple of New Britain. I don't know what they even call them anymore. They were the bees, and I don't know what they are now. But yeah, I'd like to go to a yard goats game. Maybe this summer. I'll check one out.
That's
I would own a
Where
sports
does that
team.
name come from?
The yard goats.
Yard
I think
goats.
they voted on it. I don't know where that came from, but it was a vote of some sort. Cool logo. It's a goat, but I think he's wearing a baseball hat. It's a pretty fucking cool logo. So yeah, Stu, do you think you can make it through
Nope.
Overdogs? No, you
No,
wouldn't.
100% not. Although, I mean, Molly Ringwald does it with great ease. Although, I guess at the end she doesn't, because you kind of hit a point at the end where you're screwed. Like you said, no one's designed to go free, I guess. And at the end, if What's-His-Face hadn't blasted a wall down for her to escape through, she had nowhere to go.
Yeah, she does beat it, but she's not going to get out.
Yeah.
I do have, I guess, another question about.
It did remind me about whenever I was a kid how much I wanted to play Double Dare, though. That's all I could think about.
Double Dare.
Like there needed to be a part where there was a big nose that she had to stick her hand up and pull out a prize
and pull a flag out along with snot and slime.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy Double Dare as well. That was a good show. So another thing I had an issue with in this movie, very much like I said before, when they were up in that
and
tower,
another thing movie.
When they were up in that tower, right? And they didn't check like the perimeter to see if it was safe. Did you also notice how weird it was that he parked the scrambler and told her to wait here, don't go in? And then him and Washington go in to infiltrate Overdog's operation. But it was really weird because the scrambler is parked right there, and then through a door are two of his guards just standing there. Because she walks in, of course she can't fucking listen to him. He's like, stay in the fucking Jeep. And it's actually like a nice moment too, because he says to her, I want you to be safe. Earlier in the movie, there's a really weird, awkward scene where she's like, I never said anything about adoption. And it's like, whoa, you're moving fucking fast, sister.
I mean, teenagers don't listen to you. I can't even get my 3-year-old to listen to me. So it doesn't get any better.
She won't listen to him, but he walks in with Washington to scope the place out. She literally can't just listen to the space radio in the scrambler. She gets out, she wanders in, and as soon as she wanders in, she walks into two of the fucking guards. They're
right there. Yeah,
they're parked right there. It's like, why didn't you park 2 blocks away? Like, not a lot of planning going on.
Well,
not a lot of planning going on.
You can't pass up a good spot in front. Right?
No, I guess not. So he says. So Overdog says, you're not going to live. You're not going to survive. And he gets nasty again. He's like, I like you. You've got a wonderful life force. I'm going to take it for myself. And that's when he says, bring her to the fucking, I don't know what it was, like the fucking ring of fire. Like,
it's like they blew up the inside of a hairdryer and just stuck a camera in it.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like the hairdryer coil is getting hot. Yeah. So he puts her up on a like essentially like almost like a cross type thing in there, and then he's draining her life force because this is how Overdog lives.
Her vitality.
I mean, she got transparent, didn't she? So how did she get it back?
Yeah, there was no reverse button that Spacehunter ever pressed.
No, well, maybe once spoiler alert, once Overdog dies, maybe it just releases back into her. I don't know. I did want to point out that whole ending scene when Overdog and Spacehunter non-solo have their big fight. Did anybody else think that that Wolf's gun was a Nerf gun with those little orange missiles?
Well, how non-functional was that? He had to stop and hold 2 hands to launch a missile one at a time.
Yeah.
Like every time.
A tiny missile that made a tiny explosion.
Yeah, that's like 1 bullet at a time. He should have been destroyed.
He's trying to stop Overdog from sucking her juices dry. Gross. And and he's using his little missile launcher. Overdog has like these fucking rockets that are flying from everywhere, just like fucking his shit up. How does he fight, Stu? How does he finally defeat Overdog? How simple does it come down to?
Well, he shoots the missile when he hits Overdog dead center, and he's like, "Hooray, I've won!" And then he goes over, and Overdog pops back up, and he's like, "Ha ha! Nothing can hurt me. I'm invincible." And then he just like there's a heating duct that's just kind of down on the ground, flailing around, shooting sparks, and then he just sticks Overdog with that, and Overdog is no longer invincible.
Yeah. He takes the cable off the ground, right, Joe?
Yeah.
And jams it into Overdog's claw. Like, and Overdog gets like fucking electrocuted, and essentially, right, he saves Molly Ringwald, and we end up with like this essentially happy ending, right? Where they go and again, here's another scene that if this movie was even PG-13, I think would have been different. They rescue the 3 women, and I think we missed the scene they cut out or didn't film, where Washington and Wolf probably run a train on those 3 as part of their reward.
No, Wolf is 100% just waiting 5 years for Molly Ringwald on his ship. That's where this movie's going. Oh, 100%. You know that's where it's going. Yeah. Like, what else is the end game for these characters? She's going to be flying around space with him until what? She's old enough, and he's just going to be like, yeah, I was banging a toaster earlier. I could do this.
Like, supposedly, if you leave Earth, right, and you go around, it's 1 year, it's like 10 years. They could just keep going back and forth for a year and be like, 1 year.
Time doesn't exist in space.
Right,
you're not orbiting a sun. There's no time.
You think he's just going to slingshot around the planet until she's of age? He's like, 2 more passes. Oh, Wolf, you pig.
Also, the women too, I had no interest. Usually when you have like a damsel in distress, you see them and you get to see them a lot and sympathize. Like, we didn't see them the whole time.
No, nothing.
Maybe 1 second.
I think between the 3 of them combined, they might have had 2 lines.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this movie was like maybe an hour and a half long, solid hour and a half long. And if you had just even cut a little bit or cut 15 minutes of stuff we didn't need or add 15 minutes, you could have given us, actually like given us the backstory of Overdog. I think it would have been more interesting if you knew that Overdog
was one of those guys.
Was one of those guys. It's just, maybe it's, he's not a great character. It's a cool design. I like Michael Ironsides. I like that weird twist that it seems like he's just driven by sex. Like, he doesn't have, it's not like he's like, I'm power mad. It's just like, he's like, I want to fuck something so bad.
He's every man.
Yeah.
Is that really a weird twist?
Yeah.
This movie is very smart. This movie is just saying the enemy is the patriarchy.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
And they literally had to smash him.
And I mean, and they talk about it early on, like he's like some planet-wide terror. What do they cover?
He's stuck to a thing. He can't go anywhere.
That's what I'm saying.
Stuck on a crane machine.
Not just that, but even if he has like 100 men, this is like they're basically like in like the town I live in. Like the planet has a lot more going on for it. I'm sure. Molly Ringwald's character says like no one knows this. She says no one knows this planet better than me. I'm like, really? Have you been around the whole fucking planet? It's a planet, lady. I don't think you've been around.
Into the quarantine zone or whatever. Like
the forbidden zone, the quarantine zone. Oh,
like, we still don't know how she got there either. Or if she has parents.
She's just an earther.
She says she's an earther. She says she's an earther multiple times. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the box office of this thing. And blow your mind with the fact that this thing, where it ended up for the year. So we'll do the weekend of 5/20 through 5/22 of 83. We'll go 5-1. Number 5 that week was My Tutor. My Tutor, I think, was one of those like sex movies where like maybe the young kid. I think it wouldn't play nowadays with all these like high school teachers that are banging their students. I think that's what My Tutor was. I think My Tutor was like kind of a hot tutor, and it was like a 16-year-old kid popping her.
Well, no, probably the sequel to My Bodyguard, where the nerdy kid actually helps Adam Baldwin pass high school.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just reverse.
Chris Makepeace. So that was number 5 that week. Number 4, that was in its 12th week of play.
God.
Yeah, movies lasted a long time back then. Number 4, 6th week, Flashdance. All right. Number 3,
I think filmed in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Just a Steel Town Girl on a Saturday night. That's the song lyric. Number 3, in its second week of release, Breathless. That was Richard Gere, right? Was that Richard Gere? It seems like a Richard Gere thing, if I remember correctly.
Is that before Offers from a Gentleman? I thought that's what made him.
Maybe after, yeah, maybe after. Number 2, a favorite of mine. We might even cover it on this at some point. It's a little bit more of a bigger release, but in its second week, Blue Thunder.
Oh,
Roy Scheider, helicopters. Oh my god, I love that
that's
movie.
a list up on here. You can't cover that.
I know. I might choose that as a pint movie invitational for myself at some point because I love Blue
really.
Thunder.
That's so good.
And number 1, Weekend. Breathless, starring Richard Gere's gerbil. Oh man, Eric's a funny fucking dude. Number 1, Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone.
Wow,
$7 million.
That's insane.
That's absurd.
Yep. Now let's go to 1983. All right, number 10 of the year of 1983 was a Tom Cruise movie where he slides into a room in his socks and a tee and a shirt. Risky Business. And here I'm going to give you the totals just because it'll blow your mind how even with inflation, this is what a movie would make in a weekend now. In 1983, Risky Business made $63 million.
Also rated R.
That's not even a good opening weekend.
Yeah, and it is rated R.
Yeah, $100 million rated R movies, I think, were not common until Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Number 9, I saw this in the theaters. 64.7 million. Michael Keaton and Terry Garr, Mr. Mom. Remember that one?
Okay.
Mr. Mom. Number 8, sequel to a 70s film, 64.8 million. Sylvester Stallone directed, John Travolta starring, Staying Alive. Staying Alive. Number
Sylvester
7.
Stallone directed Staying Alive?
Yes, he did.
I literally have never heard that.
Now, number 7, I am going to tell you a story as to why I have a problem with this fucking movie. Number 7 made $67.6 million. Now, a couple weeks ago, I'm a Patreon of the, or a patron, whatever it's called, of the Countdown Movies and TV podcast. Great podcast out of Australia. It's maybe my favorite podcast that's out there. I patronize them. And for their $5 and above patrons, they had a trivia contest where they're doing episodes where they're taking lottery numbers and, you play against this guy, you play against this guy, and they're doing it as episodes. So a couple weeks ago, I did my episode. I lost. I'm going to go right out there and say it. I was actually doing really well until the very end when I decided I'm either going to go big or go home. And this movie at number 7 is the one that fucked me because the question was, what film did Harry Callahan say, go ahead, make my day in? And I quickly and foolishly answered Dirty Harry.
Yeah, that's not the name. Yeah.
No, Dirty Harry. It is Sudden Impact.
Yeah.
So here's the funny part about it is the day after, right? The day after I did that and lost on Sudden Impact, I was on Tubi looking for a movie to watch. Sudden Impact pops up. And now Sudden Impact pops up again to fuck with me. Number 7 of 1983.
I mean, depressing. No, it's Dirty Harry.
Well, Dirty Harry, the thing with it is everybody thinks go ahead and make my days from Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
Dirty Harry is do you feel lucky punk? That's the Dirty Harry one, right? Is how many shots was it? Yeah. Sudden Impact is like the 4th sequel in the 80s. And it's hard, you don't think of that, but that line came from that.
Yeah. He's got the 44 Magnum Automag.
Yes.
I remember the super slick, looks like Megatron. Like, is it, when he's got the gun? But
oh yeah. And Eric, you might be thinking he's talking about the MCU, but that was actually the name of the last Dirty Harry movie, The Deadpool. Number 6, just fun to say, $67.8 million. Octopussy. Octopussy. All right. Still can't believe that movie got out into theaters in 1983 with that title.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. Number 5, $79 million. Would you like to play a game, or do you want to play a game? War Games. War Games.
I was like, Saw?
Number 4, $90.4 million that year. Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, Trading Places. Number 3, filmed in Pittsburgh, $92.9 million. Flashdance.
Deer Hunter. Oh.
what a feeling. Deer Hunter.
Flashdance was number 3?
in
I thought you said
1983.
it was number 8 or something.
No. It was on the other
Oh, the week. Okay.
the week. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it made it for the year. Deer Hunter, right? Deer Hunter is a classic movie. I've only honestly seen it ever once, and that was probably 20 years ago. If you've never seen Deer Hunter, it opens with a wedding scene that feels like you're at the wedding. It's like 4 fucking hours long, the wedding scene of the Deer Hunter. It's so fucking long. Number 2, Terms of Endearment. It was a big one that year, $108 million.
Is that Jack Nicholson?
Jack Nicholson and
McClane.
Yeah, Shirley MacLaine and Deborah Winger. Yeah,
I finally watched that a few years ago. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, no, I have no interest. And 1983. The prequel to the Deer Hunter is The Engagement Party. Oh my lord, the wedding scene of the Deer Hunter is fucking brutal. It never ends. Joe, number 1, 1983. Right? I know you got to know this.
I can't think of it right now.
Come on, Joe. You said
Return of the Jedi?
Absolutely. Return of the Jedi.
What do I win? Like you?
You can come back when we do our next episode. $252 million is all Return of the Jedi made in 1983, and it came out in May. So that's crazy to think about.
Do they have like an overseas gross back then?
I don't know. Manster sent me all these. He was originally going to be on tonight, but he couldn't. So he sent me his notes. Man, I got to tell you, I'm going to say it right now. Like, I've seen his podcasting notes. My podcasting notes are on a yellow piece of paper, and they're very shitty. I try to just do most by like memory plus like referring to the notes. This dude's notes are fucking immaculate. Like, he deserves some kind of reward. Isn't he
an artist though? Right? He can write or not.
Listen. This is his own words, by the way. I'm going to read it off real quick, just so you hear how he helps himself go through a movie. The plot of Spacehunter. Set in the early 22nd century, the film opens with the destruction of a space cruise liner by a bolt of nebular lightning. Three women survivors, Nova, Rena, and Megan, escape in a pod and land on the nearest habitable planet. They are quickly accosted by the hostile natives and taken aboard a sail-driven vehicle resembling a pirate ship on rails. And there's 10 more fucking paragraphs.
I mean, that was the beginning to the sequel to Moby Dick.
Here's the end. Wolf jabs a sparking power cable into one of Overdog's claws. The power feedback fries Overdog and causes cascading blowouts through the entire fortress. I mean, yeah. And we were rewarded with
that's like engineer talk, right?
Nebular lightning. This guy fucks. Absolutely he does. All right.
Lloyd writing a dissertation on this movie.
Dude, I understand why, like, when he comes to my house to record and he pops out that iPad, I'm like, well, I'm always like, what is this fucking guy doing? And I've seen little bits. I'll get up to get a beer, and I'm like, holy fuck. Like, he is not fucking around.
I mean, I try to make PowerPoints, but then we never get, like, the flow. I can't predict the flow, so it always goes out the window.
Yeah, that's why I don't, like, I like to have my notes so I know what we're talking about, but, like, I just rely mostly on memory and just, like, the conversation. But, But Master, I give him all the credit in the world. All right, so let's have this up.
Like this. These are all the notes I took for Django, which is like a 2-hour, 45-minute movie. I took like 8 lines of notes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just all whatever I remember. I took literally no notes for this movie.
So let's not forget before we rate this, because we're going to rate this. Let's not forget. Go to SWO Productions, bookmark it. Go check Stu out. Stu has an article series coming out, and I wanted to ask you about this real quick. What was it? A 1995 Wizard magazine?
2006.
Okay, so tell everybody what this is all about.
So in 2006, Wizard released a top 100 list, which was the top 100 comic book issues of your lifetime, which in 2006 meant you were born in 1979, I guess, because it runs 1979 to 2006, the top 100 comic book issues of all time. I'm going through the list, reading all the comics from number 100 to number 1 and saying, how well do these hold up? And so far I've got 2 articles in where I've gone number 100 to 96 and number 95 to 91. So it's going to come out twice a month. Join me as I look and see how well Wizard did on this. The bottom 10, man, it's like some adequate books, like nothing I would consider a top 100.
Now, I know maybe you don't want to put yourself out there, but I wanted to ask this question. I'm going to ask you on the air to put you out there. How are you reading all these? Is this like a download situation? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how are you finding all these issues?
I just have them.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I'm like, how I'm reading. I'm going, yeah, there's got to be a fire. What is it? A jailbroken something out there.
I will say, with all honesty, I don't pirate anything, but I have friends.
Okay, all right.
And if they do, if I tell my friend, hey, somebody wants me to watch Spacehunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone this week, and then it ends up on his Plex server, I don't bother with how it got there.
All right, that's fair.
I just watch it.
That's fair. You're what does that call you're complicit. You're just
I'm an accessory.
You're an accessory.
Accessory to space hunting.
I don't know. Your answer to me was you have no scruples, but
all right. Well, seriously, go to SWO Productions if you have not already. Please bookmark it. And if you like Stu, which I hope you do because I like Stu a lot, I would like you to also go over to where the hell are we? Go to On the QT. Listen to those weekly Stu's episodes coming up. This week we did Kill Bill Volume 1. Obviously, Volume 2 is next. Obviously, after that, Death Proof with Scary Larry Dwyer is next. After that, Inglourious Bastards with Mike Butler from ForgottenEntertainment.com.
So I'm kind of coming up.
Yeah, I take that back.
it's September.
Stu's on in December at this point. But he's doing Django Unchained, which we recorded last week, and that was a lot of fun. If you want to check out the latest Pint, the one that was put out last week was a Pint Movie Invitational where we talked about Serial Mom, which was a surprisingly funny movie. And this week's episode, Stu stepped in and we talk about some movie trailers and we talk about some upcoming Marvel #1 issues.
Oh, yeah. When does that come out?
That will be out on Friday, most likely.
Okay. I want to listen to it.
That'll be out Friday. And that was based, I mentioned it in the episode too, but I'll spoil it here. Manster had to cancel on me, and Joe here also mentioned that he liked the random episodes. So I said, let's do another random episode because those are fun. While
we're talking about my random nonsense, I also have my podcast comes out the 1st and the 15th of every month, and I'm only hyping that because July 15th is John's episode.
Oh, yeah,
You'll be coming up next month on my podcast.
All right, who's next on July 1st though?
July 1st is me with both members of the Take a Knee for Marvel vs. DC podcast covering Captain America Civil War.
All right. And Joe's just a scientist. He doesn't have anything really out there coming up. He's just saving the world one atom and one molecule at a time. But Joe, would you like to come back and talk some more S.F.A. 80s with us?
Yes, because it is a fun category, and I look forward to more choices. I will say I have nothing to hawk. I have no website. I do want to say, for God's sakes, get vaccinated. Scientists and healthcare professionals are not trying to screw you with a conspiracy theory, and the opposite of you not knowing anything, the opposite of a scientist expert is not you knowing nothing. It's another scientist with a reasoned argument.
Yeah, there you go. Don't believe. What is it? Don't believe what someone you went to 8th grade with says now because they learned it on Facebook.
Wait, I was going to say, can I answer Eric's questions in the comments because I actually have a very relevant answer to this. The Onslaught storyline in 90s Marvel is why I stopped reading comic books for like 4 years.
Is Onslaught what caused Heroes Reborn?
Yes, yeah. Onslaught led into Heroes Reborn, and it was just the quick 1-2 succession of the Clone Saga in Spider-Man and then Onslaught in the X-Men books. And I was like, all right, I'm 16. These are terrible. It's time to get out of these for a while. So Onslaught to me, in my head, is always the absolute low point of comic books.
So, Eric, did you love it?
It's his favorite series.
I feel bad if you did. The art was okay. I just hated the story.
You know what's funny about it is right now I'm reading a couple issues a night. I'm reading Thunderbolts, the Kurt Busiek Bagley. I got the omnibus.
Yeah,
the first 33 issues, and obviously I don't want to spoil it here if anybody doesn't know, but the first issue has a very famous twist at the end of it. And I've always heard how great.
Yeah, don't say it because I actually have never read Thunderbolts and I don't know what it is. It's one of those books I keep meaning to read and just haven't.
I won't say it. I could see where going into it not knowing is great, but the idea is, I guess the Onslaught thing just happened, and the Avengers and Fantastic Four are supposedly dead or off world, and the Thunderbolts is this new team that steps into the vacuum to take over. And I'm reading it and I'm enjoying it. I'm like 4 or 5 issues in, but it's so 90s. Like there's one character on the Thunderbolts named Tech, and he has this liquid metal backpack that can like do anything. He can make it into a cannon. He can turn it into a sonic blaster. He's one of those characters, and he's got a headband and the mustache. He's literally like out of the 1996 Marvel character drawer of like, this is what someone has to look like. You know what I mean? Like,
does he have a trench coat?
He doesn't have a trench coat, but there's other characters in it that and Eric wasn't a fan of Age of Apocalypse, I guess. I've never read that either. I've never read any of that stuff.
I mean, I can't argue because I'm a huge comic book fan who just admitted I've never read Thunderbolts, but never having read Age of Apocalypse, that's an odd one.
I never have. I was out of it at that point and never got into it. All right, so let's talk rating of Spacehunter. It has to happen. We got to end the show. It's got to come down to that. So let's start with Stu. I'm curious, and just like everything else here on Pine of Comics, 0 to 5, quarter scale optional. Stu, what do you give 1983's Spacehunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone?
According to my Letterboxd, I'll stick with the score I gave it there. I'm just going to give it an even 1. I mean, it looks cheap as hell. You told me it cost $14 million, and I don't see it in this movie. Everything is just a large plastic boulder. The main character is so bland and nondescript, and he really feels like a screenwriter either said, I want to write Han Solo, or I want to write myself as an awesome superhero guy. And I mean, honestly, if not for Molly Ringwald, at least, I mean, she's terrible. She's really annoying, but because that's what her character's going for, I give her credit. I mean, it would have been lower than that. So, I mean, 1 star for Molly Ringwald acting well, even if it's, being obnoxious.
All right, fair. Joe, never heard of it before this. What do you think?
So actually, look at this picture that you've put up of Overdog. That's a pretty good makeup job that could have cost $14 million compared to the rest of the movie. I can't tell that's Michael Ironside. So
he has the OG grill too. He has like a black metal grill. I mean, he probably, honestly, if you go back into hip hop like culture history, you probably don't know it, but probably like a lot of the OG like hip hop artists were like, Overdog's the man.
So that, and then he looks like a vampire from a real movie. I think it's fun. I like the nostalgia. I'm big on nostalgia. I give higher ratings. You've seen me do that before. I'm not surprised I never heard of it because of Return of the Jedi, but it fits in with the same genre of B movies. So I'll still go with 2.
All right, 2. That's fair. So nobody's using the quarter scales here.
No.
You know what? I don't know if I've ever seen this before. I thought about it. Yeah, he looks like Jason.
Yes.
Jason 8 without the mask. I didn't hate this. It was an enjoyable, relaxing night watching a movie. It certainly felt like it was being made up as it went along. For a movie that has 6 people's hands in it. Again, 2 writers of the story and then 4 screenwriters, right? So let's just say 2 people came up with the base story and then 4 people made this into a movie. For 4 people to make this into a movie, it feels like there was a whole lot of like, so what happens next? How about fat people? It's like, okay, write that down. What happens next? How about mer women? Yeah, all right. What happens next? So I think if this thing has a legacy at all, I'll give it a lot of credit for possibly somehow launching the creativity that got Ghostbusters going. I give this a little bit of credit too, because this thing was rushed into production. Like they decided to jump on the Mad Max, Road Warrior, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back bandwagon and make a movie. It was announced in like summer of 82, started filming in like November of 82, and was out by summer of 83. That's the whole timeline on this thing. And it went through a director before the director that ended up making it. The original title, by the way, for this thing was Adventures in the Creep Zone. And Overdog's original name, which I think is a better name, and it was actually filmed about a quarter using this name, and then they went back and rewrote it and changed it, was King Creep, which
that's substantially better.
It is substantially better because he is a creep. He's gross.
I think Creep Zone though is going to turn people away. For a
You're going to
PG
attract
movie.
the wrong crowd.
PG movie.
Forbidden Zone sounds just much more tantalizing.
It's like
Um,
not Times Square movie. It's Creep Zone.
and no matter what our ratings of this thing are, this was the 10th best-selling videotape of '83. I didn't mention it before. I forgot to mention it.
Videotape.
In 1983, this came in 44th for the year. So this was the top 50 movies of 1983, which you got to assume maybe 150 wide releases at any point. So this thing, did decently for itself, and it made money. That said, I'm going to go with Joe. I'm going to go with a 2.0. I had a fun time. I think that there are as many kind of good makeup jobs and effects in this as there are like really stupefyingly bad. Like, I don't get how Overdog looks kind of as cool as he does, and then all the ship action looks as fucking bad as it does. Yeah. Like, split the budget a little bit. Go, okay, all right, Overdog looks fucking great.
Yeah.
Let's take a little bit away and put some of that money towards these awful fucking ships because they look like absolute cock. So do us that favor. So
I forgot to mention this when I gave this my rating. This movie is 1 hour and 29 minutes long. It took me 3 tries to get through it because I just had to be like, that's enough Spacehunter for now.
That's fine. That's fine.
Stop, walk away for a while, come back in a few hours.
I mean, that's how I watch them all because I don't have 1 hour and 29 minutes straight to watch any movie.
I watched this
as you saw when I came even at podcast for 1.5 hours.
Joe Bob says, check it out. All right. So that's been the first episode of our new video series, S.F.A. 80s. I think the next episode, we're going to do the Octagon. We're going to do Chuck Norris, the Octagon. Scary Larry is down to do that one. This won't be a weekly thing. This won't be necessarily a super regular thing, but we will be doing this coming out in probably the next couple weeks. And so that's it. So for Stu and Joe, guys, thank you so much for doing this with me. It's been a lot of fun. And again, great to talk to friends from across the United States. I appreciate it.
From outside of the forbidden zone of Connecticut.
Yes.
You know what, Eric? I will do that because you know what? Larry loves that movie, and I actually am kind of a fan of that. Have either of you guys ever seen Best of the Best?
Mm-mm.
All right,
not that I know of. I mean, what's it? Who's in it? What is it?
Eric Roberts, Chris Penn, and then James Earl Jones is in it. They play, and it's '89 too, so it fits.
Yeah.
They play the U.S. Taekwondo team. And it's their story of going against the Korean Taekwondo team in this massive tournament. It's not the Olympics, right? It's a massive tournament of some sort. But there's backstory because one of the Korean guys killed Eric Roberts' brother in competition the year before.
That's terrible.
Oh yeah.
Which isn't supposed to happen in the Olympics or whatever.
Yeah, no one dies.
You're not supposed to kill anyone in the Olympics.
No one dies. And I will give it a bit of a spoiler now because it's fine. It's an old movie. At the end, that's right. It's Tommy's brother. Tommy is one of the main characters too. At the end, when so it's 5 versus 5. They have 5 different matches, and some of the Americans win in their matches, some don't. And at the end, it's one of those movies where the competitors, even through hatred, learn to respect each other. And they have this great scene at the end where they're each giving these cry speeches, I just want to say you're the real heroes. And then the guy who killed Tommy's brother is your brother was the greatest competitor I have ever killed. It's
ever killed.
Yeah, starring Chris Penn and Chris Penn's Cowboys hat. So yeah, you know what? I'm going to push the Octagon off. We're going to do Best of the Best. We're going to do Best of the Best next.
John is easily influenced.
I'm very easily influenced. I want to do, there's so much podcasting and stuff that I want to do. I just can't contain it.
What happens if Eric suggests a Serbian movie?
No. That's the rule. No Serbian movie ever.
Eric, push it, dude.
No, Eric doesn't get that. So to everybody that watched, hung out, thank you very much. You guys, thank you very much.